In this lecture, we'll be learning the second technique for solving percent problems, the equation method. I personally prefer the equation method over the proportion method because we already know everything that we need to do this method. We need to remember three particular words and their translation. We need to remember that of means multiplication, is means equals, and lastly, what, or some other word like that, means our unknown variable. When solving percent equations, which is what we'll be writing, you want to make sure to write your percent as a decimal. We did not have to do that when using the proportion method because we represented our percent as a fraction. Let's translate and solve using the equation method. We're simply going to translate. Of means multiplication, is means equals, what is the unknown? 56%, so we're going to want to write that as a decimal. Remember that we convert a percent to a decimal by moving the decimal point 2 to the left. Of means multiply, 180. Is means equals, and then what number is our variable? I'm going to write this a little bit cleaner. I don't like that dot for multiplication. So we have 0.56 times 180 equals x. Now we just solve for x. All we need to do is multiply 0.56 times 180. That gives us 100.8 is equal to x. I feel like there's no guessing in this technique. Let's look at the next example. What number is 90% of 0.045? What number, that's our unknown, is means equals. 90% we want to rewrite as a decimal. Of means multiply, 0.045. To solve for x, all we need to do is multiply the two numbers on the right together. We get x to be equal to 0.0405. Our next example says 8 is what percent of 48? We start with 8. Is means equals. What percent? That's our unknown. Just like in our previous example, in our previous section, I'm going to use P to represent the unknown percent so that I remember at the end to convert my answer into a percent. So P, and then of means multiplication, 48. I'm going to do a little rewrite. 8 equals 48p. To solve for p, all we need to do is divide both sides by 48. When we do that, we end up with 0.1666 equal to p. I now need to convert this decimal to a percent. We convert our decimal to a percent by moving our decimal point 2 to the right. We end up with 16.6 repeating percent. Our next example says 2.6 is 40% of what number? We start with 2.6. Is means equals. 40% we're going to rewrite as a decimal. Of means multiplication. And then what number? That's our variable. To solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by 0.40. 6.5 is equal to x. I do not need to convert this number to a percent because we're not finding a percent, we're finding a number. So this is just our answer. We have two application problems now that I would like to use this method to solve. An interstate interchange is being rebuilt. When it was built in the 1960s, the section of roadway served 67,000 vehicles per day, which is 49% of the current traffic. To the nearest 100, how many vehicles drive the road today? I'd like to take this application problem, these multiple sentences, and simplify it into a short statement like we had in the previous 4 examples. We could say then that 67,000 is 49% of the current traffic. And now we're going to translate just like we did before. 67,000 is means equals 49% we rewrite as a decimal, of means multiplication, and current traffic is the unknown. And we solve for x. We'll divide both sides by 0.49. I get x to be 136,734.69387. Notice that the directions asked us to round to the nearest 100. So I'm going to round this to the nearest 100, which would be the sevens. Rounding this, we end up with x equals 136,700 vehicles. The next application says you have a 30-cent off coupon for a box of pancake mix. The grocery store where you shop has this pancake mix for $2. To the nearest percent, what percent of the price do you save if you use your coupon? So what they're asking us is 30 cents is what percent of $2? So let's translate. We start with 0.30 is means equals what percent, that's our unknown. Since they're asking for a percent, I'm going to use the variable p to remind myself at the end that I need to convert to a percent. Of means multiplication, $2. I'm going to rewrite this a little nicer. 0.30 equals 2p. To solve for p, we'll divide both sides by 2. I get 0.15 is equal to p. We now need to convert this to a percent. You convert a decimal to a percent by moving the decimal 2 to the right. We end up with p is equal to 15%. That coupon gave a 15% savings on the pancake mix.